Well, today I want to share for everyone the Subaru. Got a good update on it. As you saw in one of my last videos, it drives now, as I drove it through that new tunnel. That was in the newspaper and everything, up in Half Moon Bay. This thing is now drivable. This thing broke down in the downpouring rain and I drove it. We fixed it in the downpouring rain. We're actually in this driveway in the downpouring rain, putting a tranny in. It was a pain in the ass because the transmission didn't want to line up with the motor and the clutch, so one of us had to be wiggling, jiggling the transmission to super sketched. I mean, it was sketchy as one of us was just moving the crank pulley back and forth, so hopefully it'll line up, and that took a long time for that to work. Like, forever, because this driveway's so hard to work in. We also did the timing belt with a good quality Gates one at right over 214,000 miles. That was in September sometime. It has 218 now. That wasn't too hard to do. I also got a used set of spark plug wires off at 90 Legacy. What was it, 91? It was something like that. I don't know, I just kind of like these ones better. Probably just the color. I kept the old ones as spares. I think it works better with used ones. Maybe that's why the check engine light went off. They're just better wires. I heard the bad spark plug wires could set the P0420 to go off. Same thing with bad plugs, just not running efficiently. This clutch cable down here does not affect does not make the car undrivable, as I did find out. It actually is a clever design Subaru came up with in the late 80s with the Loyal. It's actually optional, where if you have your foot on the brake and then you put in the clutch, you'll actually hold the car back so it doesn't roll back into the car behind you, which is a very ingenious design. So that cable's from a 90, same car the wires came from. And yeah, over the last few days, the rack and pinion, I believe, is starting to make a bunch of clunking noises and clicking noises, so I'll probably stop driving this pretty soon and buy another rack. I'm just going to get a new one this time, the used one. I bought it was in kind of bad shape. I got my money back real fast for it. He actually just gave me something else for free to make up for the money I spent on the rack, an alternator I needed for one of my cars. So I need to jack it up and do a little bit more diagnosing. It sounds like it's coming from this side, and especially when you turn, I'm thinking maybe it might be the bearings in here going bad. Just want to confirm it's the rack before I buy a new rack. You know, faster than I have to. I mean, I know there's a bunch of slop in the steering because the gears are wore, but don't really want to buy it right away if I don't have to. I bought another transmission for it. The transmission was not the problem why it wasn't drivable. The clutch actually broke into 3 separate pieces. There's pretty much the low hub part, there's the actual disc, then there's the pressure plate. So I guess the disc broke into 2 pieces. There's always, the disc and the pressure plate were always separate assemblies, but anyways, I bought another transmission anyways because the transmission that was in here was starting to have problems. Like a few weeks before it broke, it was popping out of 4th gear, making a hell of a lot more noise than normal. And if I have it off, I might as well just replace it. I also replaced the oil separator plate, and the oil separator plate on there was a lot better quality. I think it was replaced right when Subaru became aware of the problem where those plastic plates crack. But since all the screws were seized on it, the cover kind of got wrecked when we were using a chisel to get the screws off. So I just used a lower quality one that Subaru gave me at the dealership. But I don't think I did the seal around the plate very well, so we might have to take out the transmission again when it gets bad. Can you believe that transmission cost me $700? Jesus Christ. A lot of these Subarus with the 2.2 liter and the 5-speed, for whatever reason, have a lower gear transmission, meaning you have higher RPMs on the freeway. It's kind of one of the few rare ones that don't have the lower geared one. And it's all-wheel drive, so you gotta match differential speeds or you're going to burn the tranny, so I had to spend extra money on the more expensive transmission, but works nonetheless. At least you don't have chunks in the oil like the two old transmissions that were in here, the original and the one that I put in when I got it, which I'll share with you. I like the X-City clutch a lot better. It has a much better clutch feel than the Vallejo / Sachs clutch. They had that crappy clutch feel where if you're starting off on the hill like people in the car, it's extremely hard to slip. Never had a car with that problem before. I want to show you guys the transmissions. I get that trunk open. Here's the transmission that was in there that we changed out the first time. That one's from Michigan, if anyone cares. There's the original one. I believe that lived up in the Sierras most of its life. And the transmission right now is from Oregon, Portland, Oregon, if anyone cares. And when they sent a new transmission, they totally sent it wrong. They just basically dropped the transmission in a cardboard box and just sent it to me. And as a result, in shipping, stuff like this happened. That's busted. That got busted, so I had to take the sensors off this old transmission. Sensors are probably still good, you just gotta go switch the plugs off if they ever go bad. The shifter rod linkage thingamajiggy got bent, so making that unusable. So I had to go switch them. That's why it's missing the pin. And that thing. Not sure what its purpose in life is, probably to keep the dust out of the seal. But that got all tweaked out of shape. So anyways, just noticed there's a number on there. Wonder if that conspires with the VIN at all. And yeah, this transmission also had a lot of in and out play. Both of these actually. This one's not too bad, but oh, that one's actually the worst, but still not too bad. This one has a lot of up and down play. And since when me and my friend hooked the exhaust back up, we decided to leave the muffler off to see how good it sounded. He thought it sounded great. I thought it was a little bit loud at idling. It sounded good on the freeway, but did kind of hurt your ears a little bit. So what I did was I just went to the car parts store and I just bought a piece of pipe there. And I cut off the pipe going to the muffler. I just hooked this guy up. I need to put a muffler back on it. I could just buy another used one for like 20 bucks. I mean, it's no big deal. But I kind of ran into a problem because this pipe's been hooked up different than it used to be before. So I had to try to rig it up the best I can with one of those donut things and a couple hose clamps. And this side's also kind of rigged up weird. So it sits lower to the ground because the exhaust isn't mounting up to the original mounts. Right here. And there's also one on the other side where the muffler went. And this end of the pipes from a scrap exhaust system I had happened to have the curve I needed to keep the exhaust away from the the bumper. So we're all good. I didn't have to spend any money on another piece of pipe. I did have to cut a small chunk out the bumper because it was starting to catch the bumper on fire from the hot exhaust. And it's coming out here. I still might have to do a little bit more trimming because you can see the bumper's melting right here. I don't feel like doing it right now, but it does need to be dealt with. Kitty! And also, I noticed that the clutch boot was torn, and every other Subaru I looked at, there was a manual transmission from like the early 90s till pretty recent. Like, when I say recent, maybe late 90s, early 2000s. Not that new, I mean not like 2006, 2007, etc. Had a ripped transmission boot. So I decided I was just going to buy a new one from the dealer, but discount price for the boot was like $30. And I didn't want to pay $30 for a fucking boot. I mean the clutch fork boot. So what I did was I took the clutch fork boot off a Toyota Corolla transmission. It's actually the original transmission that came with the my dad's green Corolla. I had that transmission sitting in my shed, but I ended up using a Geo Prism transmission because at the end I just wanted to use a setup I knew that worked fine. I didn't know anything about the transmission. So there it is. It took a little bit of wiggling to get it in, but it's gonna be pretty snug, and it didn't cost me anything. And the best part of all, the check engine light is off. The P0420 420 light went off. So I'm thinking it might have a combination of me doing stuff like changing out the spark plug wires to maybe better ones, and they're used, but they're probably better. It seems like it has more power than the last. I'm gonna stop there by my head. And in fact, it has less back pressure because of the muffler delete project I put on. So anyways, glad I don't have to do that. Sure saved me a lot of money. And since people will ask, I'm gonna go and show everyone the mileage. It's 218,532 miles. And I forgot if I told you guys this or not in this video, but I today bought a full-size spare tire for this car because the tire that was in here original, I don't really care for the mini spare. And for one reason, it's a mini spare, and the second reason is it's not really safe to use. And the third reason is it's a totally different tire size than the rest of the tires on here, meaning the all-wheel drive wouldn't be really safe to use because the differentials will return at a slightly different speed. I mean, the tires at it's a 135 something. There might be a T135 for temporary, and this is a P205. Big difference. So I bought another rim for like $100 on the computer, center cap and all. And I just had to go look for some scrap tire piles, or just buy a new tire or whatever. Go to a junkyard and look for another tire, the 205. I took off one of these tires, actually the rear passenger side if you want to get specific, and put it in the trunk under the back, and it barely fits, but it fits. So I originally wanted to go up to a 215, P215 all the way around, just to make it get the lowered RPMs on the freeway and lift it up a little bit, but I've quickly found out that the 215, I have a P215 tire on a Subaru Forester rim, which looks slightly different. It's almost brand new, I might add, but it didn't fit under the cargo area, so I kind of ruled that out. If I want to get a full spare, I could probably get away using a 215 spare with a 205 spare with 215 tires. They're similar sized, but I'd rather just keep everything uniform. Also, I think the 215 will also correct the speedometer error because it reads like 4 miles an hour too fast, and I'll slow it down to probably about accurate. Oh well. I'll think about it. Probably just go with 205s if I ever get new tires for it. Might need new tires in the front if I don't get that alignment done soon. I'm gonna hold off until I get the rack done though. Rack number 2 sucks. Having to replace rack and pinions every year. I replaced it about this time last year. In June, I think. Got this rack and pinion off a 95 LS I maybe, or something like that. I don't remember. Might have been just a LS. I don't remember. So long ago. I also replaced the clock spring under the steering wheel so the cruise control works and the airbag light's not on. That's also from that same Subaru Directstrom. I think I told you guys about that one in the previous video. So, I think that's about it. Nothing else really to update about. So, over and out. Well, there's one more thing that I almost forgot about. Set that down. A few days ago, I was out there backing out the driveway at night, and I've had this problem with a couple of my other cars in the past that had non-folding mirrors, and I was backing out. That mirror hit that tree. It's happened several times since I've got this car parked here. This time it broke the mirror out to the point where it was just dangling by the wires. That's how this chunk's missing from it. And what I did to fix it was I just took out the mirror. I was thinking maybe there's some remote chance I can fix it. And, you know, took it off, and I noticed, I believe it's the top screw right here, like a lot of plastic, well, maybe not a lot, but like a bit of the plastic around that screw was broken, making it so the mirror wasn't stable and holding on. And this bottom screw, the plastic around the screw wasn't busted, but the mount inside where it's screwed in was snapped off. So what I did was, the bottom screw, I just got a drywall screw, shot it through until it hit something, who knows what. And I just got a huge screw that held on like a heater core or something, just jammed it in there. And now the mirror works. Believe it or not, the power mirror still does work. But a lot of the plastic support that held the mirror so it wouldn't vibrate when you're driving down the road, like every single one of those broke off. So now the mirror shakes a whole bunch when you're driving down the road, like really bad. But hey, it works. I think I'm just going to use that mirror because eventually I probably will break it off again. And when that happens, I'll just put this other mirror on. I bought this mirror before I took that mirror off, like within the hours, like fuck, $45. Guess it's not too bad for an electric mirror, but oh well. It's from '98. Wrote it down for memories. Should fit. You know, I just thought that was kind of a clever repair. I wanted to share it with everyone. Goodbye.